Arjun Malhotra had everything money could buy: power, respect, and a flawless public image, until the night his perfect life began to collapse. Meera Sharma left her home in India, believing she was marrying security and success. Unaware, she was walking into a prison made of luxury. And Robert Hayes, a quiet American retiree, seeking companionship in his final years, never imagined his hidden connection would ignite a chain of events ending in murder. The wedding appeared flawless to everyone watching. Photographs showed smiling faces, heavy gold jewelry, and a venue filled with luxury that spoke of wealth and status. The groom was a successful businessman, admired for his international lifestyle and financial power. His reputation suggested stability, ambition, and influence. The bride, a young Indian woman from a modest background, was praised for her grace and calm personality. Friends and relatives believed she was stepping into a life of comfort and security. Social media celebrated the union as a perfect match between success and beauty. Behind the carefully staged celebrations, the foundation of the marriage was weak. The couple had spent very little time together before the wedding. Their connection was built more on expectations than understanding. The husband valued image above all else and saw marriage as another achievement. The bride, overwhelmed by the sudden change in her life, struggled to adjust to the pressure of living up to his world. From the beginning, affection felt distant and formal rather than warm. The luxurious home they shared felt more like a display than a place of comfort. Every detail was chosen to impress outsiders, not to create intimacy. The husband's busy schedule kept him away most of the time, and when he was present, his focus remained on business calls and social standing. The bride found herself alone in unfamiliar surroundings, far from her family and cultural comfort. She tried to convince herself that love would grow with time. Small signs of emotional distance appeared early. Silence replaced conversation, and routine replaced excitement. What looked like a fairy tale to the outside world was already beginning to crack. The marriage, built on appearance rather than trust, was quietly moving toward a future no one could have imagined. After the wedding celebrations faded, daily life revealed a different reality. The bride woke each morning surrounded by luxury, yet she felt disconnected from everything around her. The house was large and silent, filled with expensive furniture that felt cold rather than welcoming. Staff came and went, but real human connection was missing. Her husband left early and returned late, often traveling for business without notice. Days passed where his absence felt heavier than his presence. Control slowly replaced care. The husband managed all finances and expected to be informed about every plan she made. Even small decisions required approval. He believed structure showed responsibility, but to her it felt suffocating. She was discouraged from forming friendships and rarely allowed to visit places alone. Phone calls to family were brief and monitored, creating a growing sense of isolation. The comfort she expected from marriage never arrived. Loneliness pushed her inward. She spent long hours scrolling through her phone, watching the lives of others move freely. Memories of her past felt warmer than her present. She missed simple conversations, laughter, and the feeling of being seen. In that quiet isolation, she began to seek distraction online. At first, it was harmless browsing and casual interactions with strangers. The attention felt refreshing and innocent. Gradually, one connection began to stand out. Messages brought comfort and a sense of value she no longer felt at home. She told herself it was just friendship, a way to escape the emptiness. She did not consider the risks or consequences. The house, once promised as a symbol of success, became a golden cage. Each passing day deepened her emotional distance from her husband and quietly pulled her toward a path that would soon change everything. The online connection grew slowly but steadily, filling the emotional space left empty by her marriage. Among many brief conversations, one individual showed consistent interest and patience. He was an elderly American retiree living a quiet life after years of work. Unlike others, he did not rush or demand anything. His messages were calm, thoughtful, and full of attention. For the bride, this felt rare and comforting. She felt heard in a way she had not felt since before her wedding. The age difference made the connection seem harmless in her mind. She believed it removed suspicion and danger. The retiree shared stories of his past, his travels, and the loneliness of aging alone. These stories created a strange bond built on shared isolation rather than desire. Over time, their conversations became more frequent and personal. What began as emotional support slowly crossed invisible boundaries. She started waiting for his messages, finding relief in his words during long, silent days. Eventually, online communication turned into secret meetings during the husband's frequent business trips. The retiree visited the city under simple excuses, blending easily into public spaces without drawing attention. The familiarity felt safe, and the secrecy added excitement. For the bride, these moments offered escape from control and loneliness. She convinced herself it was temporary and harmless. What she failed to realize was how fragile secrets can be. Every message, every movement, and every meeting left traces behind. In a world shaped by surveillance and digital records, privacy was an illusion. The bond that gave her comfort was quietly creating a trail. While she believed she had found understanding and freedom, unseen forces were already closing in. The connection she trusted was becoming the key that would unlock a much darker future. The truth did not surface through confrontation or confession. It emerged quietly, pieced together from small details that were never meant to connect. The husband first noticed changes in routine. Travel dates did not align. Expenses appeared unfamiliar, and moments of emotional distance became impossible to ignore. Suspicion settled in his mind, growing heavier with each unanswered question. Instead of reacting emotionally, he chose patience. He believed control was best maintained through knowledge, not anger. Using his wealth and influence, he began to investigate without alerting anyone. Digital records, travel histories, and private surveillance revealed patterns that confirmed his fears. The discovery of the affair struck deeply, not as heartbreak, but as humiliation. To him, betrayal was a threat to reputation. The identity of the other man, an elderly foreign retiree, made the situation feel even more insulting in his eyes. Pride hardened into something cold and dangerous. The house changed after the discovery. Conversations grew shorter, and the air felt heavy with unspoken tension. The bride sensed a shift but could not identify its source. The husband observed closely, measuring reactions and movements. He no longer sought answers, only certainty. His silence was deliberate, masking growing resentment behind a calm exterior. At night, his thoughts focused on restoring control. He convinced himself that exposure would damage his standing and invite judgment. The idea of being seen as weak was unbearable. In his mind, the situation required a solution that would erase the problem entirely. While the bride believed the secret remained safe, the truth was already weaponized. What she thought was hidden had become the foundation of a plan that would soon move from thought into action. After uncovering the truth, the husband shifted into a role that felt disturbingly calm. Outwardly, nothing appeared different. He maintained routines, attended social events, and spoke with the same measured tone. Inside, however, his thoughts were consumed by strategy. He believed emotion was weakness, and revenge required patience. Every action from this point forward was deliberate, designed to place him back in control. He began by tightening restrictions around the bride without explanation. Access to money was limited, travel plans were suddenly denied, and staff schedules were changed to reduce privacy. The house felt smaller with each passing day. Isolation increased, and confusion replaced any sense of safety she once had. She sensed danger, but could not trace it to a single cause. The tension was quiet yet constant. At the same time, the husband studied her movements closely. He reviewed past records and track patterns, building a detailed picture of her behavior. The affair partner was unknowingly drawn into this web as well. Subtle manipulations of timing and information ensured that no outside interference would disrupt what the husband was preparing. He believed everything could be arranged to appear natural, accidental, and untraceable. His wealth provided tools others did not have. Security systems, legal advisors, and controlled environments gave him confidence. He convinced himself that he was correcting a mistake rather than committing a crime. In his mind, the outcome would protect his name and restore balance. As days passed, his plan took clearer shape. The calm surface hid a decision already made. What remained was only the execution, and once that thought settled, there was no turning back. The night unfolded quietly, without warning or chaos to alert the outside world. The house stood still, surrounded by darkness and silence, its walls hiding everything that was about to happen. The luxury that once symbolized success now felt cold and distant. Inside, events moved quickly and with finality. By the time the night ended, the life that had arrived with dreams and expectations was gone. The scene was carefully arranged. Nothing appeared rushed or emotional. Objects were placed with intention, and details were considered in advance. When morning came, the house looked unchanged to anyone passing by. The husband presented himself as composed and controlled, showing a calm grief that raised no immediate suspicion. His behavior appeared steady, almost rehearsed, as if he had already prepared for this moment long before it arrived. News of the death spread rapidly. Friends, relatives, and associates expressed shock and sorrow. Many struggled to understand how such tragedy could strike a household that seemed so perfect. Sympathy flowed toward the husband, whose status and influence shaped early perceptions. The story presented to authorities appeared simple, leaving little room for doubt at first glance. Far away, the elderly retiree vanished from view. Fear and confusion drove him into silence. He sensed that something terrible had happened, yet he did not fully understand how deeply he was now connected to it. Investigators, however, began noticing inconsistencies. Subtle details did not align as cleanly as they first appeared. Time gaps, digital traces, and unexplained movements quietly raised questions. What was meant to be a clean ending became the beginning of scrutiny. The night that was supposed to erase shame instead planted the seeds of exposure. The silence left behind would soon be filled with suspicion, and the truth, though delayed, was already finding its way to the surface. As the investigation continued, the polished image surrounding the husband slowly began to crack. Authorities revisited early assumptions and examined details that had previously been overlooked. Surveillance footage from nearby locations revealed movements that conflicted with the original timeline. Financial records showed unusual activity around the days leading up to the death. Each discovery added pressure, turning quiet doubt into focused suspicion. The husband's influence delayed progress, but could not stop it entirely. Questions multiplied, and explanations grew thinner. His controlled behavior, once seen as strength, began to appear unnatural. Grief without visible emotion raised concern rather than sympathy. Investigators noted how carefully every response was delivered, as if rehearsed. The effort to appear flawless only deepened doubts. The hidden affair emerged during digital analysis. Messages, location data, and travel records revealed the connection that explained motive. Public perception shifted quickly. What was once seen as a tragic loss now carried the weight of betrayal, control, and anger. Media attention intensified, forcing details into the open. The elderly retiree was located and questioned. Though shaken, evidence showed he was not directly involved in the act itself. His role clarified the emotional trigger, but not the execution. Under growing pressure, the husband's narrative unraveled. Small contradictions turned into significant gaps. Attempts to control the story failed as facts took over. Each step meant to protect his reputation had instead exposed his intentions. The investigation no longer focused on possibilities, but on accountability. By the end of this stage, the case had transformed completely. What began as a story of sudden loss became a study of obsession and pride. The carefully built world of influence could no longer hide the truth. The walls that once protected the husband now closed in. The case reached its final stage with a sense of inevitability rather than shock. By this point, the truth had been pieced together through evidence rather than confession. The husband, once protected by wealth and influence, now faced a system that could no longer ignore the weight of facts. What he believed could be controlled through planning and power had instead exposed his deepest fear: public disgrace. The trial revealed the full picture of control, obsession, and pride. Each detail presented showed how the crime was not a sudden act, but the result of calculated thinking. The luxury that once defined his life became meaningless as his reputation collapsed. Support from social circles faded quickly. Those who once admired him now kept their distance, unwilling to be associated with his downfall. The bride's life was re-examined through a different lens. Her isolation, emotional neglect, and silent struggles came into focus. Public discussion shifted toward the dangers of control hidden behind wealth and status. She was no longer seen as a perfect image from wedding photographs, but as a person trapped in circumstances she could not escape. The loss felt heavier as the truth became clear. The elderly retiree disappeared from attention, carrying the burden of involvement without direct blame. His role remained a reminder of how loneliness and secrecy can lead to unintended consequences. The story left lasting questions rather than simple answers. In the end, justice arrived too late to save a life. The husband's attempt to erase shame had only ensured it would be remembered forever. The case became a cautionary tale about appearances, power, and the irreversible cost of pride. What began as a marriage celebrated by many ended as a story of silence, control, and a truth that could not be buried.